This is the Sales Gravy Podcast. I'm Jeb Blount, best-selling author of Fanatical Prospecting and Sales EQ, and I'm here to help you open more doors, close bigger deals, and rock your commission check. This is part 3 of my conversation with Lee Salz on sales differentiation. And in this episode, we talk about the power of stories to create emotional connections that separate you from your competitors and change the way commodities look in your customers' eyes. Before we get started, though, one of the ways that we differentiate at Sales Gravy is through outbound cards. Outbound cards is the new snail mail. It is a way to stand out in a way that you cannot do over the phone and social media, through email, or through any of the tools that we typically use today to reach out to prospects. And we've taken snail mail and turned it into new mail with a rockin' cool app that lets you send a personalized card to your prospect anywhere, anytime, from any device. And here's the good news. You can test drive outbound cards for free. Just go to outboundcards.com. That's outboundcards.com and click the button that says send a free card. Now here's part 3 of my conversation with Lee Salz on sales differentiation.
So there's a company out there, and you may have heard of them, Dude Wipes. Have you come across that company?
I've heard of Dude Wipes.
Dude Wipes, okay. So there was an article I read in Men's Health magazine. So they're trying to disrupt an age-old industry of toilet paper and selling a product specifically for men at about 6 to 7 times the price of toilet paper. And so if we're going to be effective with that, we need to change the way someone sees that. And the CEO said, let me put it to you this way. If you got chocolate on your arm, would you wipe it off with a dry paper towel and feel clean? And that's a gross metaphor, but you get it.
Yep.
Right? And so that's what he's trying to do, is get someone to think differently about the solutions they have or could have.
But just think what you just did. And I think this is important for everyone who's listening. And even though we're talking about something that is essentially a transactional type deal, what the CEO of this company did was told a story that evoked an emotion that connected you to a product and made you look at that product differently. And this is the conversation that Anthony and I were having yesterday, because I grew up in that environment. The product that I sold, usually on people's priority, was lower than toilet paper. And the way that you had to create competitive differentiation in those spaces was you had to go through a process of both helping them solve business problems and solve and identify business outcomes, but you also had to go through a process of telling a story and getting them to connect with you emotionally and build a relationship with them. And even though people use the word commodity a lot, and I write about this in your forward of your book, they use commodity in my industry. For me, it wasn't a commodity because the product was independent of what I was doing. What I was doing is walking through people's plants, walking through their businesses. I was getting to understand them, and I was doing the things that other salespeople weren't doing. Most salespeople were showing up and throwing up, and I was walking through the process. I did a really good job of qualifying up front. I didn't spend my time with prospects who treated me like a commodity. I would walk out of those things and go someplace else. I played in the place that I could win, but I won a lot. In fact, I was, set all kinds of records in my company and what was essentially a commodity business by simply changing the story.
And so you're a great straight man for this, because up till now, we've been talking about sales differentiation around what you sell, right? The product suite. But there's another side of it that you alluded to that clearly you did very, very well, and that is sales differentiation around how you sell. Every interaction between seller and buyer gives us an opportunity to be different from the competition, to provide meaningful value. But we don't think about that. When that subject of differentiation comes up, if we don't have enough from marketing, that question comes up that you open with, hey, what's different? You all look the same to me. We go, gosh, those marketing people haven't given me the tools. And as sales, we've got to embrace this responsibility. Maybe your company will come forward with it. Maybe they won't, but you can do a lot of this on your own. And one of my favorite questions to ask salespeople is, who knows more about the world of potential solutions in your industry, you or the people you sell to. And I've never once had a single salesperson in all the years I'm doing this and all the keynote speaking, never once has a salesperson said, oh, the people I sell to know much more than I do. And so if you think about it, what's been preached to salespeople is there's this new fad called the internet. So we have these educated buyers. I now put quotes around that because they're not educated. They think they're educated, but every salesperson on the planet agrees with me that we know more about the world of potential solutions in our industry than they do, which to me provides us both an obligation and an opportunity. I believe if you're in sales, you have an obligation to help people make an informed buying decision, which also then gives us an opportunity to shape buyer decision criteria because they don't know how to buy our stuff.
As a sales professional, you have an obligation to be a problem solver. You have an obligation to be a consultant to the person that you're working with. You have an obligation to follow your sales process and not skip steps. You have an obligation to bend the buying process the way that they say they buy back to your sales process so that you can deliver measurable business outcomes for your prospect. And you have an obligation to make people feel good about buying from you. So you're exactly right. All of this noise about the informed buyer, let's just go back to, let's take all your competitors and put the marketing materials against each other. Take every single website, go look. Buyers are not more informed, they're just more confused because everybody is saying the same thing. So if we play off something you said earlier about how people feel and maybe just we'll twist Maya Angelou's famous quote a little bit. Your prospects, they don't remember your product. They don't remember your marketing materials. They don't remember your pitch. What they remember is how you made them feel. And there's a lot of evidence out there that tells us what the professionals like you and me who've been doing this for a long time, what we've always known, but now we have the data behind that the emotional experience that your prospect has going through the process with you is a more consistent predictor of outcome of almost any other variable in the sales and buying processes.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Lee Salz on sales differentiation, and I'll continue my conversation with Lee in part 4 of this series. And make sure that you go check out outboundcards.com. That's outboundcards.com, because nothing will differentiate you from your competitors like sending a personalized card to your prospect that makes them feel important and that you really care. And you can send your first card free at outboundcards.com.